What is going on, guys? It is a brisk morning here in the garage gym. Luckily, I'm kept warm by my very new Rogue Barbell Skull hoodie. One of a few things I picked up on a bunch of haul of new equipment I'll be sharing with you guys on a future video. And I say that, of course, kind of in joking here because the topic of this video might ruffle some feathers, might get some people mad. I know some companies were already kind of upset with me based on some things I said before, but because we are right on the cusp of Black November, essentially probably starting on Monday or Tuesday, you're gonna see all these discounts and videos and reviews coming in, of which I'm gonna be guilty as charged. I got a lot of stuff to show you guys off camera, but hopefully some of you guys realize that not everything you guys are seeing here when it comes to equipment is really the real deal. So that's what the topic of this video, I believe I'm gonna be calling it Garage Gym Reviews Are Not Real, and I'm gonna get into what I mean by that. Of course, I think they are real. People are showing you guys real products, and people are trying to give you guys the best advice possible. But I think we also realize there's also some subtle caveats that can potentially distort really the most authentic message that can get out there regarding certain equipment. So I'll break this down by points, and I don't want to make this super long. Certainly you guys chime in, drop your comments down below, and if I didn't say so already, I want to make sure to preface this. I don't mean no disrespect to anybody in particular. Some of the things that I'm saying, I'm for sure guilty as charged. So point number one I want to get into, and I said that kind of tongue in cheek, but also legit when I was referencing this little hoodie here because I did pay for it, is not giving people full disclosure whenever you're making a video or product review. And I feel like this used to be something that was put on a higher pedestal a few years ago. At least the viewers were really pushing people to a higher standard, saying, hey, you gotta tell us if you got this for review, was it free or was it not, did you pay for it? And I think, especially for a casual reviewer who's just jumping on a video for the first time, maybe not familiar with this particular person putting out a review, is that it does put in the back of your head, either consciously or unconsciously, a certain, not just trust in the actual person making the video, but also in the product itself. So it should maybe go without saying that if I purchase something with my own money, it probably says something. At the very least, it might not necessarily mean that I actually love this or legitimately gonna use it all the time. It could just be that people really wanna see it, and the company, for whatever reason, is not giving out this product for review. So that definitely is a legit thing. But if someone is going ahead and actually going ahead and paying for it, and if you guys watch the video of someone else just making a video of something they actually put their hard-earned cash down and just sharing it with you guys, I think that holds a little bit more merit than, say, getting something for free. And again, not saying that stuff should not be given for free for review. I think there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It doesn't mean if I don't pay for something that I don't like the product. Actually, I would say more or less the stuff I have here depends on the season and the months here. I'd say it's about 50-50 of the things I actually pay for. And there's definitely also a 50-50 split between things I've actually paid for and things I've gotten for free for review that I would say are some of my favorite pieces of equipment. Also, the nature of the game is if you are a bigger channel, especially if you got, say, a corporation behind you, you actually have maybe money in your bank to actually go purchase things. Nothing wrong, of course, that makes sense for a company to actually send out a product for review. So I don't think, again, that's inherently a bad thing at all. What I'm starting to see creep up again are some videos that put on the illusion that they actually did go ahead and pay for this, when I kind of know very well these things are basically being sent out free for review and then it's not being disclosed to the viewer. And this is especially true when you're maybe making direct comparisons to, say, another competitive company that is not doing that and you got some free for review and you just assume, well, this influencer picked and actually went ahead with their own hard-earned cash and bought all these different things, where it's a bench, attachments, a big rack, and you just kind of assume by default that these are really the kind of the best products, and this is the reason why they chose this one over that one. So that is why I really think putting some disclosure in videos just makes the video a little bit more authentic and quote unquote real in this scenario. And this follows into the next bullet point. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna condense this down, but I would say it's an element of not just overhyping things and glossing over the shortcomings because of the financial incentives. I already made videos talking about, of course, with obvious incentives because of affiliate links and codes. And it makes sense to not talk about the competition or the advantages over a competition, but also discussing just how people can be strategically vague on some of their responses or just not responding at all. That's something else, I think, for the nature of just this type of content. People ask a lot of questions. I'm no saint here, of course, but even on this small channel, I try to respond with some direct answers if I can. So if someone says, hey, would you pick this or pick that? In fact, literally this morning, I responded back to someone's comment about this. I try to give them my honest answer based on my thought process and what I've kind of seen, and also understanding where they're coming from, because I'll get to this later. Your training, the way your setup is working, your preferences are going to be, of course, different from mine. So there's always going to be a difference, and it is sometimes hard to give a black and white response. It goes with the territory, and I would say responsibility to the consumer. If you are the one, especially if you're heavily influenced in this space, that people are looking to you, you're putting a lot of consistent videos out in this nature, to actually go ahead and address and give some honest feedback on particular answers. Otherwise, I would say, in my personal opinion, you start kind of losing that credibility on are you just kind of shilling for a product and oversighting certain shortcomings, of which I'm not going to say names, but certain companies are not liking the things that I have said in the past. And I think if anything, yes, I always try and be respectful to the company. I try to always highlight the things that are good, and I'm going to address the things that are bad. And sometimes legit, you do just kind of miss things. You don't think about certain things. So I'm not saying everyone that doesn't cover a con is doing so intentionally, of course. But when you have a gamut of, let's just say, squat racks at your disposal and you can see all the different things, it's worth kind of noting out again, like what are the standout things that really, especially all things considered in a world where there's so many racks, let's say for example, so many attachments, so many functional trainers, what really puts this above or below a bar compared to something else, I think should be kind of highlighted and stressed to help kind of dilute some of the confusion and maybe buyer's remorse, especially when it comes down to throwing $4+ grand on a particular rack, or in this case, all-in-one trainer I'm referring to. Going into these holiday seasons, people want the most amount of knowledge possible, and that's where I think authentic reviews, and again, people are doing a lot of great work, come in really handy, especially in this time of season where people are going to be really taking your word seriously. As an aside, the nature of the beast too is that you are not seeing every home gym product at your disposal. We are really only seeing the ones that typically we have some sort of affiliate relationship with something else. There are these scary brands or dark brands that we do not talk about, and that is because they have no affiliate relationship, which is kind of understandable, and in my opinion, it's their loss. I think they should be doing that for the consumer to get products out there. Something like that would make sense because otherwise you're really not going to see that product. So I understand why a person maybe does not want to cover or mention certain things. I take that back. I think it's worth mentioning certain companies. I'm saying, by example, top of my head, I don't even know if this is accurate or not, but like companies like Sorinex, Elite FTS, those are all great companies. I know off the top of my head that I do not think have affiliates with just certain people. I could be wrong on that, but even the bigger companies, I think they have enough money and they have enough pull where they could still, it's not gonna hurt them to actually mention that. But if you are a smaller content creator and you're talking about products, it of course doesn't make a whole lot of sense or a financial incentive to take a lot of time away from companies that are sending you things, companies that are actually incentivizing you to actually promote things, to go ahead and highlight something and take, say, 5 to 10 hours out of your life to make a dedicated review on something that this company's giving you no support for. So I understand that too. The next kind of broad area that I think is not really authentic and maybe comes across as a little bit fake or not realistic when it comes to garage gym reviews is that you are sometimes seeing just the trends being highlighted and you don't really know if this is like the chicken or the egg. Is it the market pushing the reviewer or the product to actually go out and make something that it's just being covered? Or is it the person organically kind of showcasing their evolution in their home gym? They like things and they share it with you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing quote unquote market research. If there's something that's kind of popular, they can go ahead and talk about it. What I don't like though is, of course, this is an influencer game by nature, is that sometimes what can happen is that, again, intentionally or unintentionally, you are influencing a market to say pick up and invest in, say, technology-based things. There's like the Beyond Power Vulture is a good example. I try and be authentic with it. There's some things I think are good, some things I think are bad. I kind of go up and down personally, honestly, with the hype train. But there's sometimes accusations where like, well, all these reviewers are just hyping the Vultra because they see the writing on the wall and they must be getting a lot of the kickback. Could happen, I don't really know. Other end of the spectrum, it could be not popular and then they come back and say, well, actually tech things are not that popular and we want to kind of avoid, and maybe it's just old school weights are better. Case in point was also with machines. I think the trend of putting more machines, putting more attachments was kind of taboo. And I've kind of said this and alluded to this in past videos as well. And I think it's going to be probably true in the future. I think we're going to come back full swing again to a more simplistic model, and some of these heavy-handed attachments or all-encompassing versatile attachments are slowly going to phase out back to more simplistic builds and maybe find a nice mix between machine and practical setups. But I saw this post someone made where they highlighted their brand new gym that had probably over 10 grand plus of equipment, but they started getting berated on why did you buy this piece, why did you buy that piece? But what they were getting at least the commenters, was that this person just bought everything under the sun that seemed cool and didn't really think about their overall training. And I think that's also an important caveat, because when I work one-on-one with people, it is often that, of course, they like and support the channel, and I really appreciate and love that. But sometimes I can see they might be, or they'll mention they got a total gym or they got some resistance bands, they got some other things I'm using on the channel. Then I slowly start seeing that maybe they don't exactly know how to use those things. And worst case scenario, maybe those things are just really not for them. So when you are watching some sort of home gym review, what you have to always recognize is that you do not know their style of training. You also don't know their training history, which is something else I said in past videos. Because a big part of selecting the best equipment does come down to not just your personal preferences, but also the style in which you train. And again, I have to preface this here. I'm not trying to say I'm holier than thou, but if you have people that are making content and videos that are kind of self-expressed, really just starting working out themselves, just really talking about the rating of quality or feel on a product, that is certainly one thing, but it's another thing to talk about the actual usability and functionality of the actual product to your training. So to summarize what I'm saying here, I think garage gym review or home gym review content is very valuable information and content, and I think it's also for sure pushing this evolution of home gyms into the future, which I think all is a good thing. But we also have to keep recognizing in the back of our heads these subtle incentives, subtle nuances, and also influences that really are pushing certain products that otherwise would never have been used in the first place. And worst case scenario, you end up buying more stuff than you actually need, because that is probably the end of this video I'm gonna talk about. You're gonna see some stuff that I personally purchased, and I'm a victim of this too, of buying and picking up equipment that is very cool, because it is also not normal and also not real to have a channel such as this to be able to show you guys all this equipment. Most people are not going to be doing this. Most people do not have crates being delivered to their house and semis coming to their house every other day with new equipment to show you. But unfortunately, I think some people by watching and digesting so much of this start actually getting in this vicious cycle of buying and selling and literally almost turning their gym into a home gym reviewer situation. Again, nothing really wrong with that. I just think it might turn into blanket consumerism that ultimately, worst case scenario, is not allowing you to reach your goals and is not giving you the best training possible. And then maybe this is the pot calling the kettle black, of which in the next, stay tuned to the channel, because in the upcoming weeks, I do have a lot of new stuff. Some of it I paid for, some of it I did not pay for, that I'll be sharing with you guys that might make your home gym experience all the more fruitful. But as I said, if you have any questions, you want me to give you guys my honest take about it, feel free to drop them down below in the description box, and I will see you guys on the next video.